Hello everyone, welcome to a Byte on the Go. Today's video is a part of a multi-part series that I will be doing, which is essentially a guide to building a PC for people who may not know too much about PCs or are first time PCs owners. So this is part 1 of what to know about PCs. I hope you enjoy the video and let's get right into it. So why have a PC? Well, it's important to have PCs due to a variety of reasons, with some being that it's versatile, it's great for gaming if you love that, it's also an amazing workstation that allows you to edit videos, design like graphics, do modeling, do programming, and etc. And so it's also useful for multitasking, so you can do multiple things on a computer, like start maybe writing a Word document while also maybe watching a video at the side. And that's what basically a PC is for. But it's also great due to its customizability that allows you to basically build a PC to how you want it to be built, be it budget friendly or high-end workstation. And the greatest part about having a PC is that you could upgrade the parts down the line if you want more power, and essentially you're never left behind as you are with other types of technology. Like for example, if you like gaming, well, there's consoles, and eventually consoles aren't powerful enough to play the most modern of games, essentially forcing you to have to buy the new console, which often not just costs too much. And that's where a PC shines, because you can actually upgrade a PC while on a console you can't. And there's a variety of other reasons, but this is just some of the reasons. Now, what are some parts you find in the PC? To start off, we have the central processing unit, or also known as CPU. This acts as the brains of your PC. It processes all the data and instructions your computer needs to run. The CPU's speed and core count play a huge role in how fast your system performs, especially when multitasking or running demanding software. Then there's a CPU cooler. This essentially is it's just an essential part, because if you don't have a CPU cooler, your CPU will overheat, and that will affect the overall performance and even fry the CPU that the PC has. There's also the motherboard, which is essentially acts as the foundation of the computer, in which most parts are placed in. This is obviously a simple explanation, just so that you can understand it. It's also basically important to understand if it's essentially compatible with your CPU, and if it has the features that you need, such as maybe it has Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, because there's some motherboards that don't have that. Then there's the random access memory, or also known as RAM. This is essentially the computer's short-term memory, which it uses to store data that your system needs quick access to. More RAM is great for running multiple programs or handling heavy tasks like video editing or gaming. After that is the graphics processing unit, or also known as GPU. If you're gaming or anything graphics heavy like 3D modeling or video rendering, a dedicated GPU is crucial. It handles rendering graphics, and more powerful GPU means better visuals and performance in games, and just in general for like apps. There's also often where maybe 30 to 40% of your budget goes due to how important it is to the overall computer's performance. After that is the storage, where you can essentially select an SSD, also known as a solid state drive, or hard disk drives, HDD. This is permanent storage where files and apps are kept and stored. And often than not, SSDs are faster and more reliable compared to HDDs. But the problem is, obviously, for the more storage you want, the more it's going to cost you with an SSD, while HDDs normally are a lot less money for a lot more storage. Obviously, another factor to consider is where would you install the operating system, which is like, for example, Windows or Linux, which is important to know, but I'll go into that deeper in another video. Essentially, if you're gonna buy both an SSD and HDD, because some people do, it's important to know that often than not, you want the OS or operating system on SSD due to allowing for faster boot time and faster overall performance of the operating system as compared to a hard drive HDD. Another thing that you would need for a computer is a power supply, also known as a PSU. This essentially provides the power to all the components, and something to make sure about is that it's powerful enough to handle everything that you have on the computer. So you have to essentially keep count of the wattage of all the components that you have gotten, and make sure your power supply can supply at least enough power for it. Obviously, you want to have like a general like overhead of maybe 150 watts to avoid any possible issues with maybe the components using more watts than it should normally. This is just important to keep in mind, but I'll go deeper in another video. It's also important to go for a reliable brand, just mainly for safety reasons. So yeah. Then you also have PC fans, which is important for cooling like all the components in general. If you don't have this, you're gonna basically face overheating problems, which is just not good. You're just gonna have problems, and your performance is gonna be lowered. You may damage the components eventually. It's just something you don't want to deal with. Then there's the case, which often not people buy for aesthetics, and it also holds all your components. Just essentially for the case, make sure it's big enough for all your parts, because there's some parts that may be too big for certain cases. Like for example, a micro ATX case having to fit a 4090. That's just most not gonna happen. And it's also important for the case to have good airflow so that your components can stay cool. There's obviously other parts of a PC that I'm not considering here, such as essentially maybe more cooling system, more storage drives, other peripherals like keyboards, mouse, and monitor. I will have a video on that, but for now we won't worry about that. So before I go into what's the difference between building your own PC and buying a pre-built, I want to first explain like how do you exactly get started with building your PC. So what I would recommend is, one, you do your research, determine what you want out of your PC. Do you want gaming? Do you want a workstation? Which resolution do you want? Do you have 1440p, 1080p, or 4K? Do you want it to be able to render 4K videos? Once you know what do you want to do with your computer, then you can actually go to the websites and compare CPUs, GPUs, and other parts based on performance and price. I will have my own guide on essentially what I believe is the best price for performance for either a workstation or a gaming computer, but that'd be for another video. Another thing to keep in mind is compatibility. You have to make sure that your components all are compatible with each other, such as your GPU, CPU, GPU, RAM, and storage. Compatibility can be tricky, but there's websites like PC Part Picker that can help you ensure everything works together. It's also important to buy your parts, as stupid as that sounds, but you have to check if there's sales or bundles, because obviously if you can save money, it's always best. Some places I recommend is Micro Center. If you have a Micro Center near you, great. For example, I have one in Miami, I live in Florida. It's just amazing to get deals for just components in general. But obviously you can just get that on Amazon and stuff if you don't have a Micro Center next to you. Also, you have to make sure you assemble the computer correctly, because you can damage the computer while assembling. For example, bending a pin on the CPU socket, or frying a computer due to electrostatic. But I will go deeper into that in another video as well. And so now, what's the difference between building your own PC and getting pre-built? Well, obviously the pros of building a PC is you're able to customize every single component so that it's tailored perfectly to your wants and budget. Then there's better quality parts, because often not, pre-built PCs sometimes use cheaper and less reliable components to cut costs. So that in a sense, when you build your own, you can choose a reputable brand for long-lasting performance to avoid any possible issues in the future. It's also satisfaction. Often not, you have a unique sense of accomplishment for having built your PC. And also, you'll now have a better understanding of how everything works if you ever need to troubleshoot or upgrade in the future. And then another thing that's important is what I've mentioned before, upgradability. Building your own PC often results in a system that's easier to upgrade. People sometimes come with proprietary parts that make upgrading harder or even impossible due to how they essentially made it, because obviously they want more money from you, the customer, and for you to avoid upgrading on like with parts that are often not cheaper and stuff, because pre-builds have this added tax on the price. Pre-builds are often not just a lot more like just costly compared to just you building your own PC. Then let's just go and think about what's the pros of pre-builds. Well, despite, in my opinion, not being the greatest thing, I do understand that sometimes you may want a pre-build. This is due to the convenience, which you don't have the time, patience, or confidence to build a PC. Then yeah, pre-builds are just great for you. There's also warranty and support. Pre-built PCs often come with warranties covering the entire system. If something goes wrong, you can usually get help with the whole unit, while self-built PCs might require you to troubleshoot and deal with individual warranties for each part and each company, which can just be very stressful depending on the person. This also comes with less risk, because for first-time builders, there's always a small risk of damaging a component during the build. So pre-builds remove that concern. Obviously, I would be talking about how you can avoid these risks, but if you just don't want to deal with it, you can just get a pre-built. Ultimately, if you enjoy a hands-on approach and want more control over your system, building is the way to go. But if you want something fast and hassle-free, a pre-built might suit you better. And that's it. That's all I have for you. To summarize what I essentially explained throughout this video. Building a PC can seem intimidating at first, but with a little research, some patience, and the right tools, it is a rewarding experience that gives you exactly what you want. Whether you build or buy a PC is a powerful tool that can meet your needs, from gaming to professional work. Thanks for joining me today, and if you have any questions about parts, building, or anything else, feel free to ask. And just so that you can remember, in case you want to check those videos out, I will be making a video on each component that I have mentioned, and even some extra videos to just help you in your research and buying every component of your PC so that you can start building your PC. And that's it. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you learned something new today.